kind of like a matador. The Tufty must be getting used to me. I was quite proud that he discovered that too. Good morning, by the way. I have my cup of coffee. I'm outside. So, let's see. The Papa Bluebird report. Our nest. So we haven't seen Mama for several days now. I think the last time I saw her was on Saturday. So we think something happened to her. We're really concerned that Papa can keep feeding the babies by himself because it's a full-time job. We contacted Dean from the Pennsylvania Bluebird Society. He did say that Papa can handle it by himself, but that I'm sure he appreciates the help. So yesterday I was out every 10 minutes putting out about half a dozen mealworms to help him. And I'm going to continue coming out about every 15 for him because it is a hard job. We started with 5 eggs, and somewhere along the line we lost 2 babies, so we still have 3 babies, and we really want them to thrive. A little later on today, we will be live streaming Bluebird Camp. They are getting bigger and louder, and they take much more feeding. You can see their wing feathers now. The book I have is a little flower fairy book, and I shot one last spring, and this spring I thought I would do another one. It's open to the periwinkle fairy page, and I have periwinkles blooming in my flower bed. Everything you see is in our garden right now. Some of my absolute favorites are the woodland phlox because they have such a lovely scent. They're much shorter than the taller, showier summer phlox. And of course the bleeding hearts. The dark pink ones, I don't know their real name. call them a money plant because they kind of get this dried seed pod that looks really clear. You can tell where Papa Bluebird was in that shot. So it looks like the teacup is a little tipped. I'm constantly fussing with the scene. I'm going to move this leading part back a little bit to make sure that I'm seeing Papa Bluebird. I'm using a skewer to poke a hole in the moss and flower fern. And I notice we've got a few droopies going on here. These are ostrich ferns. I'd rather use our woods ferns, and I think that's what I will do. I'll be back in a minute. So these ferns are ostrich ferns, and I planted them in our flower bed. They grow nice and tall, and they're stiff. These are our woods ferns, and I actually prefer them. The top of them isn't totally unfurled yet, but I guess that'll just add some charm to the scene. I wish the leaves were a little bit more full. Can't really see what it looks like. I think I'll make this one a little bit shorter to just add some variety. And I have some long nails here too that I can use to poke holes. And I'll make this I think I'm going to make this one a little bit shorter. Take off some leaves. I've heard florist talk. I am not a florist, far from it. But I've heard my good friend Rosie talk about how important changing in size is for interest. Of course, this is supposed to be in the woods, so I wouldn't necessarily have to do that. It's supposed to look like a woods flower bed. Alright, these little guys are showing some wilt too. And I'm going to take this out of the back because I don't want it to show. Oh, I like that pink pop on them. They seem to wilt so fast. It's just a couple steps over to my flower bed. And I can just toss things over the railing into the yard. And of course, they get mowed over. You can see tiny little seed pods right here. If I left them go, they would make these big dollar plant things. Really the size of a $50. I just love the warm rosy pop in these. So the foam is covered with moss, and I have to poke through both of them. This one is a little bit wilty. They're all a little bit wilty, but I really want that pink top in magenta color. These are the white woodland phlox. These are the lavender woodland phlox. I'm going to take these down to the ground. And maybe put another piece of white phlox. Maybe a little bit more white would brighten it up. And maybe one more piece of white at the bottom. I'm literally snipping off flowers as we talk. Try that. Okay. I'm always fussing at the seam. The other thing I noticed is my little cup is tipping. So I'm just going to put a tiny stone under the left side. I don't know if this will work or not. We'll see. Might hold it up a little bit. Oh, there went a fern. Forgot I had that there. Okay. I thought it just made a nice look. The bluebird lands on the book, I just kind of wanted a little piece of plant over at this end to kind of help bookend the arrangement. So if the bluebird is on the cup, he will hide the fern, and that's fine. And if he's on the book, it'll put something there. Fussing with the scene can go on forever, and at some point I just have to stop. I'll put a little bit of white here. One of the things I'm missing in this scene that I had last year is something called vanadium. It's easy name is called Barrencourt, but it has tiny little yellow fairy flowers, and I miss those little yellow ones. Oh, there went the skewer. All right, Papa Bluebird, I am ready for you. Let's give you some motivation to come. You need some help because you're taking care of those little ones all by yourself. This little cup was given to me by my Aunt Pat. She had a gift shop and her choice was just exquisite. So I really treasure that. Okay, Papa. Sorry to be so long. Come and get it, Papa. Sorry about that. I'm going to open and close the sliding door. I think Papa hears it. And maybe that'll bring him. Papa, you surprised me. Oops. Now you know where I put the worms. I love you too, Robin, but you know what? You are a little piggy when it comes to mealworms. So this is how I'm hiding the mealworms. It's a little tin foil container, and I'm putting it between the cover of the book and the paper cover. And I'm trying to take good care of the book while I do this, but Papa reaches in and pulls out the worms and the container. Just so you know, the robin had a meal earlier today. I usually give him or her one meal. I know, it's a little bit stingy. He opened and closed the door again, just in case that's what Papa knows. Jinx is on the windowsill inside the house, just staring at me. I'm not going to put more worms out. There are some worms in the cup, and I want to see if he gets up on the right edge of the back one. I'd love to see his claw over top of the pages and kind of hanging on to the side of the book. I have a beautiful one with him coming in with wings widespread. Once I'm out and set up, I always wonder what they're going to do next. Last year I had one of these books laying on its back and the pages were fanned up into an arc. There was another little Denpass cup to the right of it, so I figured the bluebird would land on the cup and look at the book. And it was actually a chickadee. The chickadee tried to land on the pages of the fanned book. It was amazing. It's one of the most surprising photos I've ever taken. So why do I have mostly bluebird pictures? It's because they're just the ones that isn't seen right now. Earlier there was a tufted titmouse, I call them tufties. Red-bellied woodpecker also visits. The blue jays keep an eye on the peanuts, but they are really shy. There's also the occasional nuthatch, the ones that hang upside down from the trees. And there is a chickadee that visits. The birds are farther and fewer between. In winter they depend more on the feeding station. They might be shy of me sitting outside because usually I'm inside. I'm outside because I couldn't put out the mealworms and get inside the door to sit down, and Papa Bluebird would be on the mealworms, or Mama. They were that quick. I couldn't get 15 steps inside. So now I'm only a half dozen steps away. I don't think my voice bothers them. It definitely doesn't bother the bluebirds. Some of the other birds might be a little bit more shy. So when I sit, I always think about what's not there, and it's hard to sit still. So there is a peanut here. I'll put another peanut in there, and one way on the other side to see if I can get some of the nut-loving birds in here. I haven't seen any downy woodpeckers for a while. Oh, how I love those little birds. I love all the birds. The bluebirds have edged everybody out. Oh, Papa's sitting on top of the house. He's right on the 8 o'clock. I'll be down in a minute. this time. But you know, you might not like that pretty gold handle that's in the way. Seem to have better luck when I put them here. I'm not in my usual AzarEl turquoise today. I'm wearing my coffee and bird watching shirt. It's my other favorite. There you go, Papa. I'll put another peanut out for the nuthatch. Papa Bluebird is over in the tree, off to the right. That's why in a lot of my scenes you'll see an empty spot on the right. It's because the trees are over on the right and this is how they come in. So I have to guess where the birds are going to come in and leave space for them. I'd really like to get him right here, and I know he can do it. It's just I can't get the placement of the food quite right for him. He's up there watching. One of the nice things about bluebirds is they are steady. They often bob up and pause, bob up and pause, and the camera loves that. So we just sit and click away. Even if I don't get a shot, I know these young'uns need food and Papa has to work extra hard. The babies are really getting big and it takes them more food. It's possible they'll be able to fledge in a couple days, but they still look a little young. They have their feathers. It said 16 days. That's the earliest. And 16 days is coming up on like Thursday. They'll start to stretch their wings. I haven't seen a whole lot of that, but I'm used to more babies in the nest. I have to laugh. I thought that at the end of this whole bluebird nest process that I'd get a beautiful bluebird nest. But what happens is the babies get bigger and bigger, and they jump up and down on the nest. So what you get is the flattened nest. It's like kids jumping on the bed. Such a happy little bird. I don't know if you can hear him, but he was twittering away on the top of the roof. I like to catch a picture of him with his mouth full of worms. I think it's hilarious. He was twittering with his mouth full. So I'm going to take a photo, and I'm going to show the way the scene looks like. So just forgive me for a moment. He's sitting at the top, and now I'll take a down shot. I think he's waiting for more worms. Yep, I did fill it. more worms out. I'm wondering if he's waiting to see me do that. He's conscious. You ought to see the load of worms in there. He picks up every last one that he can get into his mouth. Papa must be tired. He's taking a rest up there, enjoying the beauty of the morning. I know you're watching the TV screen and you don't feel the birds or the breeze and there's trees rustling. It's a whole different thing to be surrounded by all this beauty and green. I heard a northern cardinal. They're very skittish. I looked at many photos of them at water. So I went up to the roof and some of the worms dropped out of his mouth. He was hopping up all over the place to eat them again or to capture them again. He still has them in his mouth. These he hasn't eaten. That was a house finch. I like being able to see which bird is singing on Merlin. I have a shot at recognizing bird songs. Right now, baby birds are getting their part of their morning breakfast. I'm going to put my coat on. Maybe the red t-shirt makes them nervous. I'm not sure if birds see color or not. I kind of think they do. My jacket is a nice dark turquoise green, so we'll cover up that shirt. Like to collect photographs that are funny and interesting. And when his mouth is loaded, I just think it's hysterical. He doesn't mind if his mouth is full. I would. But I don't look as cute as he does with my mouth full. So the feeder is working out pretty well in the beauties of the book. I'm still not getting him to do what I want him to do. But you know, they have their own minds and reasons for what they do. Comes. Did you see the blue jay with the peanut? I'm going to go up and see what's on the camera card. And I'm going to put out some peanuts for the nuthatch and the blue jays, and we'll see how many of these are gone when I get back. And I'll put out another meal for the bluebird. That little guy can't get enough meal with those 3 little ones. Okay, I'll see you in a little bit. You never know what I have before I get upstairs to the computer, because they move so fast. Enjoy the food. time that I was down here, 74 photos were taken. And I don't know if you noticed, the camera clicks before the bluebird even comes into sight. I caught some really nice wing action that I'm excited about. I mean, his wings were widespread. The ISO is at 1250, which is higher than I normally shoot. I'm on aperture priority. The f-stop is 7.1 and the shutter is clicking away at 4,000. So, these ferns have been bothering me. I'm going to see if I can find some that are wider open. But I see some of the peanuts have disappeared. Who's been here? I'm going to put out a meal for the bluebird. There you go. Give him a nice beak full. Oh, I got some great shots of him with his mouth full too. I've seen them carry like 5 or 6 mealworms in their mouth. Okay, off to cut some ferns. They're feeling some weight. I walked a little further to see if I could find some better ferns, but they're just not open. The oasis that I have back here is dry. I usually take the time to soak it up, but I didn't. The alarm went off at about 5:45 this morning, and by about 7 o'clock I was about ready to start photography. Usually chug my first cup of coffee really fast. And then I feed the cats. And come out here and set things up. The scene is covered at night by wet cloth. I have an old white sheet. We have raccoons at night, among many other visitors, and the raccoon can smell the leftover food in the sand, and he will tear apart a scene. It's just how he is. I'm going to try to group these together a little bit more. Maybe lean this one toward the right a little bit. I heard somebody in the tree. I'm not sure who it is. I think it's the tufty. The tufty has a husky voice. They also have a beautiful song. That was something that I learned from being with birds. I always thought birds just make one sound, but they have a song, they have safety calls, they have all kinds of things. Always learning something new. I and I learn so much from the people who come into our booth too. I love talking birds with people. I called the Dean Rust from the Bluebird Society. I didn't get to talk with him, but it was about the Papa Bluebird being the only one doing the feeding right now. And he reassured me that Papa can handle it all, but that he would probably appreciate some help. So I'm replacing a piece of or flower foam back here. Looks like it's a little bit high. So I'm going to cut a little bit off the base. Oops, my knife went inside. I'll have to make do with the scissors. Of course, I like all the green foam head. I like to make sure to get all the green crumbs inside. I don't like that stuff hanging out in the environment out here. I don't want anybody to mistake it for food. So I don't even know if you can see the log back here, but that's what the whole book is leaning against. It's this really cool looking mossy log. I thought maybe some of it would show. Okay. Like I have to reload. I guess Papa came in when I was out looking for ferns. I don't begrudge him any of these ones. I'm definitely not going to eat them. But I want him to get free meals for those babies. I can't imagine how much energy he takes just flying back and forth. And it is constant. I do think it gets slower in the afternoon and picks up again toward evening. I think things slow down in the hot afternoon for a lot of us. Alright, open and close the door. Oh, I don't have to. He's on the peak of the roof just waiting for me to get to him. Papa, how about landing on the pages of the book? Now I see one thing, at least I think. That's the cover of the book. I like the way that is standing up. It's probably been doing that the whole time. Maybe I can put a stone or a twig underneath it. I'm always propping stuff. Always, always, always. And then it falls apart. Alright. These are some dried twigs from last year. Maybe this will help, maybe not. This is what they look like. Something I just scavenged. I don't think this is gonna work. I think it's one of those things that I just need to stop fussing and let it alone. So I have foil crushed down in here to hold my little feeding trough up. In case you didn't see it, that's all it is, a little canoe-shaped thing. It's between the hardcover of the book and the pages. I'm sorry, the dust cover and the hardcover. Alright, Papa, I'm done fussing. Come on in, Papa Bluebird. these little cups are really, really light. Now you can see what I actually have in it. I have 2 stones to weight it down. Since that just happened, I'm going to put in another small stone. Birds are really light, but yeah. And you can see how many worms have accumulated in the bottom of the cup. So I get my worms from Uncle Jim's out in York. Why? He's really close. I don't like the worms to be in shipment very long, and they have been really dependable in getting the worms to me. Good service. So I've got some dirt here on the moss and some worms and other things. I don't think I'm going to bother doing too much cleanup. The morning is getting later and later, and that basically means the light is limited. When the sun actually hits the booth, sorry to turn my back on you, by the way. I'm going to turn the cup this way because maybe Papa will land on this side of the cup. I'm going to put the peanuts down where people can't see them. Kind of bury the peanuts a little bit. So it takes Papa a lot of energy to keep all this feeding going. I'm going to continue feeding through the day. Yesterday it was about every 10 minutes. I come down and put out half a dozen worms, and most of the time they were gone. Papa and I seem to have an understanding. This page got a little whacked down. There we go. It's just a stone down there. And then something pops out of whack. It's normal too. I want that leaf up because I'm hoping that people will be able to see that it's periwinkle fairy. There we go. Now I want that periwinkle pointing that direction. Ugh, I really don't like this dust cover. I'm going to take this out. I'm going to take the dust cover off, which maybe I should have done in the first place. So there were all kinds of things hidden between the dust cover and the book. I'm going to try to just use the pages of the book. Revamp little things here. So there's a piece of tin foil at the bottom. That is an attempt to keep the book clean. Some mealworms that slip down through the pages. Put it out like this. And I'm going to see if I can still use the same technique back here. I'm going to have to put some crushed foil back there so that my little boat can stand up. Gotta make sure everything is hidden because while I do allow myself to remove things from the photograph, I like to do it as little as possible. Oh, that looks much nicer without the dust cover. I'm going to put a little bit more moss here. I don't know if you can see the tin foil back there. I can from my angle up here. I had thought of that sooner. That looks much better. I'm going to shorten these bleeding parts just by a bit. They had a leaf here that's starting to droop. I forget to hold it where you can see it. So since it's drooping, I'm going to cut it off. I'm going to put it back in. I'm always drilling a new hole in the moss and the foam underneath. I'm trying to keep it back because I want it going over the page but not covering the top of the illustration. I think her name is Mary Cicely Barker. I will check the cover. She was an artist in the 1920s and very, very popular in her day. This block is looking a little droopy. I need to go out and get new flower foam. When you use it more than once, it doesn't take in the water as well. But I didn't even take the time to put in any water. I'm always seeing tiny holes that could be filled in, but I don't want the flowers on top of each other either. I want to give them space to breathe. Otherwise, they just look crunched together. Try one right here. That might hide the stem on the bleeding part a little bit. Try to get it down just a little bit further. The stems aren't stiff enough to slide them in, so it amounts to drilling a hole for them every time. This one right above the other one. There, maybe it'll look like a bigger flower now. Papa's sitting on the top of the roof, patiently waiting. Okay, Papa, there's some worms in there for you. Come and get them. Here, I'll let you see me put some worms in. I feel like this is crowding the page too much. That's a little bit better. And this leaf is in the way of the other flower. Okay. The sun is coming around, so I won't be out much longer. starting to show on the white flocks on the left. I always notice things when I'm sitting and staring at it. Okay, enough, Donna. The bluebirds on the peak of the roof again. Maybe he likes that side of the cup so that he can watch the wood. I thought maybe it was the handle that was getting in the way. That he might be expecting some predators or something from the wood. See how the light is getting brighter here? I don't like dealing with a lot of partial shade. I like full shade. It gives it a nice smooth look. I do add light in the photographs. I change the, sometimes I'll add vibrance to it. Oh, I always add vibrance to it. I like to make it pop a little bit without making it look unnatural. I never mess with the bird. Or the fact of, what he's doing. If the flower looks wilted, I might improve on that. cover is obnoxious in the earlier photos. I might change the top edge of that. The birds are always doing what you see them, really see them doing. I'm really glad you joined me this morning. It's interesting for people to see in real time. There's a lot of waiting, a lot of patience, a lot of cups of coffee. I know the Lord is so much peace. And right now, keeping those 3 baby bluebirds alive and helping Papa. I don't know if you notice it, but the lower left corner of the page is getting lit by more sun, so there's cross lighting. I don't like it when the light starts to bounce around. It has so many different colors in the shade and purple. It's always hard to get up and walk away. There's so many things to do today. I need to make some photo blocks. I got an order for 9 of the same photo blocks from a lady named Sadie, so I want to get those ready for her. And Landis Valley Urban Garden Fair is coming up at Landis Valley Farm Museum, just outside of Lancaster. It's Friday and Saturday. I always look forward to that show. It has lots of bedding plants in it. A nice mix of crafters and plants. Landis Valley has heirloom tomato plants as well as heirloom seeds. There are volunteers who work hard to keep the old kinds of seeds alive. It is $14 to get in. Well worth it because you're walking around the museum, you're seeing plants, native plants, bedding plants, special perennials, and then crafters like us too. Oh, and by the way, the chicken corn soup under the church porch is fabulous. It's homemade. It's like my mother used to make. Other years they used real corn, not the frozen stuff you get in the corn, but the kind that you cut off the cob and freeze. And then there are going to be various trucks there too. Different ones on Friday and on Saturday. Of course, they'll always have the coffee there for you. I know, I think on Friday there's a taco truck, and I forget who's coming on Saturday. It's that chicken corn soup that has all my attention. Well, I think I'm going to head in. Brian will take down this video streaming and put up the bluebirds in a couple moments. I'm going to remove the book just because I want to protect it, but I might keep the little stuff out for a while. And then in an hour or so I'm going to cover the moss in with a white blanket and wet it down. That keeps the moss nice and deep and clean. I've had this moss for like 2 weeks and just keep reusing it. Got the bluebirds on the peak of the roof, so I think I'll wait for them to come down. got in these last shots. And I will show you this book. It's lovely. See the beautiful log behind it? It's called Flower Fairies of the Garden, and it's by Cicely Mary Barker. If you see her books, they are just amazing pieces of art. Okay, bye for now. I'm going to leave some food right on the scene. And I will be out every 15 minutes today, probably. I think there will be a lot of birds visiting the scene. There we go. Birdies always have to be well fed. Wouldn't be surprised to see a crowd of birds come in when I go inside. Not all of them are as comfortable with me being outside as the birds are. Have a lovely day. bees that gobbled up the worms. So I think there were about 20 more photos taken. I think I got the shots that I want earlier in the day. I'm just glad I had the time to sit outside. It's nice to get the shots. Usually I get at least one. There were over 300 photographs taken this morning. And I used just one. Sometimes two. So I really don't want those robins getting all the mealworms. But unless I sit and watch, I can't do a thing about it. So once they discover them, they probably sit out there and wait. Hopefully Papa Bluebird will get some of them. Time to unload the teacup. I'm going to take that in. I'm protective of that. And I also want all the delicious mealworms. Delicious to the bluebirds, that is, that are in the bottom. wasn't here, all of this would be gone.